area.
Is that, well, that valley's so narrow right now.
They said it's, what, the fourth largest fire in the
History of
Colorado
the state.
history,
Is
just
that
that
right?
quick.
Wow.
Tomorrow, I mean, I figure within another week, because they're not gonna get it out, it'll probably be the worst ever.
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Like I told you, like in 2002,
This stuff in space.
I was sitting in the
Given
house,
like
and that was one of
You could make an airplane from the
sitting up about first one here comes a member and it's red, it lands between my feet.
Burned you.
Oh, no. Didn't know, it just landed right between my feet.
Little bird.
Worked with Audrey's dad, Joe, up there with the dozers and motor graders trying to cut fire breaks out.
He said,
It was terrible.
that place, that Caterpillar up in Campbell or someone sent 3 brand new dozers too up there. Brand new, they carry like 500 gallons of water.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helped us.
Not good.
How are you?
Yeah, we should have. If something burns in that watershed,
For generations to come.
we said that.
Today is July the 3rd, 5 p.m., 2018, and I'd like to call the work session to order. We have 3 items on the work session tonight. Item number 1 is recycling. And Greg, do you want to start that off, or?
Well, I think I've reported this before, but we do have an issue with recycling now and moving to the future because China has cut off all imports of recycled goods, and they take about 45% of everything produced in this country, including most of the stuff from the western states. And if we don't find some other way to use some of these recycled goods, they're just going to end up in the landfill. Because if you can't cost effectively recycle them, they're just garbage.
Because Kelly and Jeremy are about at capacity out in Terra.
Well, and they're running into issues with the China deal.
Yeah.
Well, they call it the China sword.
Yeah. And I've got a meeting with them next week to see if there's something we can do to address the issue. We could still do things like I mentioned before, composting, that kind of stuff, because that removes a lot of the volume out of the landfill. But if we want to continue a recycling program, we're either going to have to figure out a way to store stuff for up to years, or figure out a way to find manufacturers who can use the goods. But we would be we almost have to have a department of recycling to pull that off.
So it makes sense to send glass bottles to China?
No, glass is not recyclable, hasn't been for years.
And
Well,
I do have some information on the glass portion of it. So.
Right. Glass is pretty much a it just isn't recyclable. It weighs a lot, it doesn't transport well, and there just isn't much use for it.
There's a lot of.
Well, there actually is a lot of use for it, according to the lady that Susan or Lori Johnson was saying. And the reason why there's a place in here, Rocky Mountain Bottling takes a lot of the recyclable glass. The big problem that we would have is you'd have to get enough to transport from Trinidad to Denver to Momentum Glass Recycling, I think it's in Broomfield. And then they send it off to Rocky Mountain Bottling. She said that actually Rocky Mountain Bottling does not get enough recyclable glass to cover all the bottles that they recycle. So there is a huge void there, a huge need. The big problem that we have is that you have to transport and have to get enough glass to send up there on a periodic basis. So that would be the big thing. And of course, whether it's full bottles, and of course, if we decided to get into the glass and crushing the glass, there's 2 different ways to do that. And how it could be used is something else that we'd have to check into. But the glass can be recycled, but that's the only issue is the volume and the time it will take.
It's my understanding that most important part and the most expensive part was the transportation.
That is an issue.
Well, one thing
I
that
mean, it's
people
hard
have.
not only for glass, but also for the recyclable stuff. I mean, cardboard, everything you get
Now,
out.
one thing people have to come to is recycling is still garbage,
Right.
and nobody's gonna pay you for your garbage. It's gonna cost you money. In fact, whatever it costs us to dispose of things in the landfill, recycling will probably cost us at least double. So it's just a set of your priorities. What do you want to achieve? If you want to just take things out of the waste stream, it's still waste. It's going to cost money to dispose of it, regardless how you dispose of it.
Now, according to what Lori was saying, that one of the things that's deal with China is that the Chinese are actually, there's a couple of companies that are looking at coming to the United States to do recycling, because I think, however they would do that, I'm not sure, then they would ship it back in some form, we don't know. But that's something that she talked about. The big thing is, of course, is in order for us to be able to come up with some idea of recycling, we're going to have to come up with some data as to what we could use to make a good decision on this. And I did talk to this Michael Falling and Andrew Moore that were there. They're from Re-Rig Pacific Company, DeSoto, Kansas. And evidently they're into collecting data and stuff like this, so they can tell us what. I'm not sure if there's a cost involved with this or not.
Now, when you say collecting data, didn't Terra Firma already perform one of like a core sample or several of them at the landfill?
I think they did that data, but I think there's additional data that we would have to perform with the constituents as to about recycling themselves. So there's other information out there. Yeah, you're right. That may be part of it.
Okay.
Another thing is, the most effective recycling is curbside pickup. That's expensive too, though, because you need a truck, and then you need people to drive it, you need people to pick it up. But when it's drop off, if you can get over maybe 10% of the volume, you're probably doing really good.
I think we have an opportunity here to do something not only just for saving our landfill, which we know has a finite amount of time. We can also be proactive with helping our environment, but we can also create a new industry here in Trinidad. We could get one of those MRFs or material recycling facilities, and we could be a hub in this part of the state between Denver and Albuquerque, where other small communities would bring all of their materials here. We could have a few staff members on board and a truck and a guy to drive or a woman to drive the truck, pick up the materials, and we could actually start a new industry here of recycling materials, which would create jobs. You have to have basic laborers to sort the material. It's not a glorious job, but it's a good job, and it could come with city benefits. And we could really turn the tide of another facet to our community that would be beneficial in an industrial capacity, creating jobs, and therefore we may be able to get some more developers here to build some more homes.
Carlos, if you look at the economics of that, like what the tipping fees are relative to the capital costs and salaries? No, I'm saying.
No, have I? Oh, I thought you said.
Tipping fees, you know, people pay you to take the stuff off their hands, right?
Right.
And so that would be your main revenue item, and then you would have capital costs, and then you would have salaries. So I'm just curious, have you ever looked at it, Greg?
Well, this would have to be paid for out of the solid waste fund that we're looking at starting, which means you'd probably be looking at conservatively doubling your rates for garbage pickup.
Well, what if we could do this? Add it onto another utility franchise.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's a utility,
Okay.
but
So,
you have to generate revenue somehow.
well,
So,
if we have only 4,000 households in the community, and you tack that onto everyone's utility bill, say $5 to $10, even $5
you
per
can-
household,
you
that's
can-
$240,000, a little bit less per year, just in the fees of a flat rate fee. Depending, and you can always go by the size of their container, just like you would for any trash receptacle. The larger the receptacle, the larger the fee. We could alleviate a lot of waste in our landfill. We could, again, start a new industrial kind of complex here towards a modern recycling, environmental healthy program, and maybe bring in some more lifeblood here.
It's a point, if I may, Mr. Mayor, it's a point that, how much recycling do you think our citizens of Trinidad really do? I mean, do we have tremendous amount of people that recycle? Do we have a medium, a poor, or what? I know I try to in my little Pepsi can and bottles and stuff, but what I try. But how many people do you think in our town are actually gonna take the time to go and separate this?
Let me give you some
I
statistics.
don't know, you
Let me
know?
give you some statistics that the lady gave us when we were up there. For recycling, the national average is 34%.
Okay.
Colorado is only recycling 12%.
That's what it is, but, the part is that I really feel that I don't know if our citizens are ready or are willing to do this. I mean, to me, to save our landfill, that's great. I mean, we only got, what, about 30 more years, 28 more years on our landfill, and that's another scary situation. But that's why I guess this council and the mayor and the staff have to decide.
One of the- Go ahead.
You know, I guess your point is well taken, Joe, but there's a certain point where we as citizens of the city, a state, a county, whatever, have to take ownership of the filth that we're putting out there, you know, the landfill. And I think we haven't given it a good chance to catch on to Trinidad. I know I recycle, but I recycle for a purpose because Noah's Ark used to make money, but I think that's probably dried up now. I'm sure Kelly won't pay them for their recyclables anymore. But I think we owe it to ourselves to give it a shot and find out.
And something that they did say is that we're going to do this, we need to get the data, but then council needs to, we need to develop a policy for recycling. And how that policy may be developed could be maybe in steps, I don't know, but that might be something to do. To kind of introduce it to the community and then graduate it up, maybe have 3 or 4 step process. So I think this is something that we really need to look at. If the council doesn't mind, there's actually someone in the audience that I asked him to come tonight because he's been involved with recycling. Can you come forward, please?
Could I real quick?
Sure.
So, I've known Jeremy and Kelly since they started and bring the machines in, and I've actually helped out there at times just to see. And I was surprised at the amount of people that's through there. But I think an incentive would be if the rates for the dump increase, it's gonna be an incentive for people to recycle. I mean, we can force people into being a little more motivated in fees that we charge, I think would be an incentive to get people.
Or you have more on the street.
And then, sorry, Mr. Bernal, you wanted to know about how much they were pulling. Kelly did tell me they diverted 350 tons of recyclables last year out of the landfill, and that was with improper vehicles. You know, so that's what they could do with what they had.
I think it was, I know I had a little conversation with you the other day. You have some history of recycling. Kind of give us some background and first of all, state your name.
Yeah, I'm Rich Colombo. I'm a pretty well-known artist in Trinidad. I utilize recycled materials to create art, which is kind of sort of way outside of your focus to get recycling rolling. It's an adjunct. I think your best bet is to work with Kelly to grow the recycling there. It's already established. There's already tonnage being diverted. And of course, you know, the glass and whatever else. And I'd say rather than force them, you might want to persuade them, you know, into that. And with me, it's elevating recycling into an art form. So I would suggest also like an artist in residence program, educational programs, a materials bank that would divert materials that normally go in. You'd have a materials bank that would be accessible for people who are building things or artists and kids art and whatnot like that. Everything can be recycled, but it seems there's a problem with the fact that it's not being taken is the problem. right? 45% of the material is not being, and therein lies the problem, right? So even if you get it all together, where's your recyclables go?
You had mentioned to me that I think you're,
Into that. And what they wanted to do, the landfill in San Diego, at one point, they had it designed to make like an attraction out of the landfill that would be recycling of everything, as well as a sculpture garden, performance, educational programs, and all of that, which, takes effort and money to achieve. So, let's see if I left anything out on my list. Like San Francisco has an artist in residence program where they give maybe a dozen artists a stipend, and they have access, and then they create art and they put it back into an exhibit. So, I mean, and all of the integration of the arts helps raise consciousness about recycling, and that it has purpose other than filling up the landfill.
so the big thing is just that any items that might be recyclable for artistic reasons could be possibly utilized.
Materials. I'm sure there's a lot of construction materials that go in, and a variety of other things, art materials and whatnot.
Well, that's one possibility.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
sure. Thank you.
Anything else that council wants to discuss on recycling? Just to let you know, I have the cards from these people, that we talked about recycling, and we're gonna go forward with more investigation on this.
I have a question.
Sure.
The presenters that you went to their programs about the problems we're having with China rejecting our recyclables, do they feel that it's a temporary process?
They don't know.
They
They don't know.
really didn't say if it's a temporary thing, and who knows right now, or it's up in the air with anything, so.
The bottom line is it is what it is right now, and it may be that way for quite a while. But one thing I was informed of from Twin Enviro or Terra Firma is that they don't even have commercial accounts because they don't have the proper equipment. So they don't have Walmart or Safeway recyclables coming their way. I know that we recycle at our laundromat, and we collect things out of the trash to alleviate from our dumpster, and we have a 4-yard dumpster. That thing's usually pretty full. If we didn't collect those recyclables, it'd be more full. And I take a load in the back of my vehicle once a week, sometimes twice depending on the week, and I know it saves a lot on our landfill. Just if I do that, and the other people that you see in their list, they keep a logbook. People are recycling. I do think it does wear a heavy burden if we were to impose a fee on people. They're not going to like this. But a lot of people didn't like it when Social Security was imposed on them back when the New Deal was started. And now it's turned out to be a very good thing. So we have to be mindful of sometimes the things that we don't always like aren't always bad for us. It may be good for not only us, but the future generations of Trinidad.
Well, the other thing too is that they discussed is whether we do, bins, bags, whether we do area centers, which would be one big container in different parts of town. These are all things that I think that we need to look at. Some areas, from what they were saying, they buy the bags and distribute them to the residents, and they use bags instead of the plastic bins.
Another one is you can just tell people go to Walmart or Safeway and tell them you want them to buy blue bags to do this, and they'll start stocking them.
You got some towns now, or larger cities, that are trying to totally do away with plastic bags in all grocery stores. I think it's, and straws.
Seattle just banned straws.
Yeah.
But the blue bags for recycling are far less expensive than buying the big sideload containers.
And one last thing, Ms. Van Meter did inform me that she does have the connections for the people who do purchase the recyclables. She just is too small potatoes for them to really mess with, because they buy it in larger bulk, and she just doesn't have the capacity to get it to them in that quantity. If we were to have a collective with mutual, a consortium of other communities from Pueblo to Las Vegas, Lamar, La Junta, Alamosa maybe, it may make it a viable industry here.
Nobody wants to look at this further.
Yes.
Because I think we really have to.
Absolutely.
Wave of the future, gonna have to.
I'll get those cards and then you guys can start looking at it a little deeper. Okay. Okay, on to item 2, visioning project. Tara?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Ms. Dana Crawford approached you and proposed a visioning process for a shared vision project with the city on June 12th this year. This is a process we've been visiting back and forth with Ms. Crawford. The purpose would be threefold. One would be to prioritize the goals that were developed in the 2017 comp plan, to build a community consensus for council's priorities, and third, to engage the community in a process to agree and recommend priorities back to council. So it would really accomplish 3 things. It would include about 40 to 50 community members. Ms. Crawford has proposed it at a $50,000 expenditure. We did identify there is a DOLA grant which might pay for half of that. One option would be if you decided you wanted to do this, we could make it contingent on getting the grant. Another idea would be that we pare down really what the expenses are within the shared visioning, and we pick and choose what things we would like to pay Ms. Crawford for. Maybe, for example, an example of what would be included in this price that staff might recommend we handle ourselves would be if you decide to go forward with the process and do the shared visioning. Once that product is completed, the proposal Ms. Crawford included was to walk it through planning and zoning for adoption and then to walk it through council. That would obviously be something staff could do. So I think we could look at the particulars of her project as proposed and maybe pare it down if that was your direction and see if we could come up with a more affordable expense. I think what we're trying to do before we go into that process is to get a sense from you as to whether this is something you want to do or not. I don't believe staff's making a recommendation one way or another. Is that correct, Greg? We're just wanting your feedback on whether this is something you feel like you need.
I think it's something that we need to do to keep the community and government going in one direction. I think communication between community and government is really important, and I think once you involve people with that process, it makes the process a lot more successful. I'm in favor of that.
I mean, we have a contract with Ms. Crawford currently, don't we, for her consulting?
We do, and that is mostly to sell Trinidad, which she does a very good job at the state level, as well as to do research and investigate and take meetings. And I can't tell you the number. If you would like for us to put together a detailed report on the things that Ms. Crawford, the meetings Ms. Crawford does around the state on our behalf, and that's what that consultant contract is. It's literally for $9. It's literally for 9 hours a month of work.
Right, I remember it was very little. So with this one, basically she would be coming down and being the tip of the spear with our
She would be
group of
facilitating
40,
the process.
the Fab 40, if you will, and try to basically envision a way to enhance Trinidad and progress it forward.
It's 4 group sessions, 4 hours each. So it would be leading those group sessions, 4 hours each, and the process is based on the Project for Public Spaces, so it has a particular process to it. It would also involve her hiring staff to take that engagement that happened at those meetings, consolidate that into a report that came back, and eventually to a document that could be adopted.
So after the report is performed, is there any type of tangible implementation for whatever these recommendations are from R40?
It's 20 short-term goals, and it's 10 short-term goals and 10 long-term goals that come out of the process. And it's really driven by those already identified action steps that the comprehensive plan has developed. It's really prioritizing those into saying, okay, here are the 10 short-term achievable, and here are the 10 long-term achievable, and then it assigns the community responsibility for help achieving those.
So if we proceed with this, with the assumption that we'll be able to get some assistance from DOLA, what happens if...
Depending on the $25,000. Those would be your 2 options there for funding.
that was gonna be my recommendation, is that, you know, we don't go forward with this unless we get that.
I would like to go forward with it if we had some financial assistance from DOLA, because right now we're dipping into that well a little too often these days. And, well, we gotta be careful.
If council is, well, I'll wait until you consolidate and then feedback.
Two concerns. I'm concerned about the commitment to the process. Philly, and a number of us participated in the TCF Foundation thing, where it sounded very much like this. It was the community, and we broke up into groups, and it just splintered apart. And there were a lot of people put a lot of time in on it, and just, there was no follow-through. So I'm concerned about that. The other thing I'm concerned about is, how do we pick which citizens are gonna be involved? I mean, is this gonna be, why did I get left out? So, have you thought about that, or?
We've had some discussions with Ms. Crawford. I think it starts with staff and council, mostly staff recommendations, and that builds just a small core. And then beyond that, I think Ms. Crawford comes down and meets with different community groups and asks them to put people forward. So the 40 to 50 people are a combination of staff recommended, and those are really done because staff works with the community on a consistent basis in a variety of areas. So we would know better than her team as to who might be the best person if we were going to talk about recycling. To take the last subject you were just discussing, staff would be able to recommend that. Then Ms. Crawford would come in and do some community group meetings prior to these four. That would be the preparatory work, and would come back with a list of 40 to 50 to be included. We haven't gotten to that level of detail because we really weren't sure council was interested in going forward with this, but certainly there are examples in the past where council members have also recommended people to the process. And keep in mind, if there are 40 people participating in the actual process, that doesn't mean it couldn't be held as an open meeting. I mean, it doesn't mean that the public couldn't attend. And I think if they did, certainly taking comments from them could be part of the process. So I think if council was looking for a more open, engaging process that was completely open to the public, we could design something if you decide to do that.
I want to go in that direction, I think. I'm fine with it as long as we can get some financial assistance.
I agree.
That's all I have to say.
I agree.
The two things that I said, I'm in agreement with that as far as getting financial assistance from DOLA. The second thing I think we need to try to do is, we have a large group of people that are fairly new to the community. And I think it would be good to try to get long-time residents involved with this process, so there's a cross-section of newcomers as well as people that may be lifelong residents, and try to achieve that. I think that we get a good cross-section of
Balance.
balance.
An opportunity for the
Yes.
two possibly to start to come
Working it,
together.
exactly.
You bet.
My one recommendation, and I think I would like to talk this over with Mr. Sund afterwards now that we have some direction from you, is I'd like to go back and really drill down on the 50,000 and exactly how that breaks out, and see if there are some elements that, such as walking it through planning and zoning and walking it through council, which could be handled by staff. And let's really finite that amount and see if 50,000 is the amount we want to evaluate. I'd like to know a little bit more about how that number's come to, if you're amenable to that.
I think that'd be a smart thing to do.
Mhm.
Why pay for something that we don't?
And then
That
we'll
would be
apply
nice.
whatever amount staff negotiates with Ms. Crawford, we'll apply it to Department of Local Affairs for half of that. This particular application doesn't have an application deadline, it's an open application, okay?
Anything else from council? Nothing? So on to item 3, the entertainment district. Somebody requested that?
I did. So, with the help of Greg and Audra last year, we got the entertainment district formed, and we were able to pull off an event. I got local businesses in and showed them how it would work, and they prospered. Now here we are in July, and the only thing on the books is Pre-Fest again. And that wasn't the intention of forming the entertainment district, and the district's not being utilized. So I've been back to all the local businesses who are still involved and expressed my concerns, and we just seem to I guess when I laid everything into their laps, it has turned into more fighting than it's turned into utilization. So maybe I'm looking for a little direction. We have options. We've got to utilize this entertainment district. It's great. We've proven how it can work. It's a great asset for our downtown businesses. We have a couple of options, and one of them is to pull the entertainment district back from the local businesses. We can utilize a promoter who will set up events, who will come to us, and we can look at events and then turn around to the local businesses and tell them this is what it costs them to open, to cover insurance costs and stuff along them lines. I'm just looking for something and ideals where we can make this work better and utilize the district. I don't want to see another year go by with one event in our entertainment district. That's crazy. None of us worked that hard to get this going and for this to happen. I think we may need to, and I talked to Mr. Sund about this, about possibly looking at taking some of the marijuana revenue and buying a blanket insurance policy, say for 7 events, 5 events, set that up to ease some of the cost on getting the events done, to help maybe try to get more stuff done. I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm looking for a little direction here, what we should do.
One thing, and I'll just tell that counselor, but I just want to mention to you, right now we have an event planner that we've hired.
Correct.
And I think that person would do exactly what you're talking about. And I'll explain something else, but that's one avenue. So why don't you start?
I really don't know what to say about that, Rusty. I know it's kind of your comment about turning into more fighting than promoting, what do you mean by that?
Bickering amongst each other instead of getting together, setting up the events, or going out and get people to come in and put events on and stuff like this, and instead they're not working together like I envisioned it happening.
Yeah, I think we need some leadership, and I think your comment is appropriate. And I don't mean leadership from you, I mean somebody who's paid to do this and can steer things in a good direction.
Right.
I feel the same way. I think we need someone to spearhead this and get it so that way it's active. And if we do need to find a promoter, then so be it. We have the district. Let's promote the community as being a fun and energetic place where people can come and enjoy themselves and spend money at our restaurants.
No, I agree with the promoter idea, but I think basically the only reason it works for Pre-Fest is because Trinidadeo takes on that expenses for paying for entertainment, and so everybody else can reap the benefits of the alcohol and food sales. Well, you've got to get the people that are making the revenue to put the money in for the entertainment, to make it an entertainment district. If they're not willing to do that, then I think we need a promoter to do that.
You know, and Tarek was probably, like I said, one of the things that we did is, that was the whole reason that I went ahead and introduced an event planner, is because I think that is not being utilized, but there's other things that are not being utilized as well. You have the Main Street group, I think that's the Main Street group, that is supposed to be doing the art walk that they established several years ago, and that's kind of went by the wayside. You know, and if this event planner would come in and basically say, this is what's going to happen, and open up that entertainment district on the last Friday of the month or whatever it is, that will be part of that person's job. And get these people that they're going to have to participate somehow. Tara, what else you have?
So we did hire the event planner. She's in her beginning of her 3rd week right now. We actually did a call with Greeley Creative District this last week. They were really the impetus, similar to Trinidadeo here, to get the entertainment district set up in Greeley. And our conversation, knowing that there are some struggles with our entertainment district, the conversation we had with Greeley was, how did you, so they're handling the insurance and they're paying for the marketing and they're doing that.
Right.
Greeley Creative District admitted in those first couple of years it was a real struggle. You have to get buy-in with local businesses. So on Monday, our newly hired event planner, who's also managing the Welcome Center, is going to reach out to the entertainment district and start facilitating that group. We have a couple of ideas, and Art Walk was one. We have a couple of different ideas for things that we might use the entertainment district for immediately. You should know also, we've had one large event in addition to Trinidadeo that's come forward and picked up the paperwork to use the entertainment district for their event this year. So I do agree with your concerns, but I think we were already at a staff level thinking the same thing you are, that we needed to put some staff resources toward it. So that actually begins next week. We started this week with a phone call, and next week we'll reach out to the entertainment district.
What are the insurance costs at this time?
I believe for the Trinidadeo last year, we were in the neighborhood of $800 and something.
For one event.
That's not bad, and so and it ranges big time in price when you take into consideration the live entertainment, different stuff. There's a lot of factors that weigh into that. And that's why I come here to fill out what we should do if we just need to invest some of our money, marijuana money or something, to get it rolling if we're experiencing growing pains. You know, I was just at awe when we had businesses that did as much in one night as they were doing in quarters, and now they can't seem to put together any more events. I couldn't even get them. I just received notification from the state. I filed the yearly report that has to be done because they didn't take care of it, and I'm the contact, and I just out of pocket went ahead and paid the fee again. It's a $10 fee. So we still have that option of having control of the entertainment district. We still have a name on there. I am still the contact. We can go through the steps of replacing my name and getting someone else in there. I've just removed myself from the entertainment district since I sat on council because I thought that was the proper thing to do. So we have options here with still having control of that because they have not gone in and done what they were
How many
supposed to.
businesses do we have involved so far?
So we lost, the only one we lost was Ristras. So we have, well, I don't know.
We have currently 5 Mooses,
Right,
Bella Luna,
correct.
Tease Me, Treat Me, Bricks, and Buckets. Those are the
And
5.
buckets, that's right.
Los Animas Grill has yet to join, and I know the Purple Toad has already reached out to our office and said they'd like to, and they are in the district.
Yes, they are.
We did lose Ristras. We started the year with 6.
Correct.
Well, that's really a pretty good bunch to, I think, move forward with.
And the insurance question, on the other side of that spectrum, when we did the Space to Create block party last year and used the entertainment district, it was under $200, the insurance was.
It
So
really
varies.
depends on if you're gonna sell alcohol.
Yeah.
That's where it tips.
And live music played a big part when me and Audra was filling that out. It weighed a little bit. The size of the crowd you predict.
The time of day.
Time of day makes a difference. Everything makes a difference. What time you're gonna
The
start.
number of square feet.
What time you're gonna stop. I mean, if you stop at 11:59 is much cheaper than if you go to 2 a.m. Like in a bar. It all makes a big difference.
Who is our new event planner?
We have hired Marty Hackett. She is our Welcome Center manager and event planner, and she started 3 weeks ago. And she is getting the ball rolling at the Welcome Center and has already put together a volunteer recruitment program and is getting those volunteers recruited.
I think I would like to see from her just kind of a plan to probably working with you going forward to see how this thing will work out, just to bring to council, just to keep us informed.
We have 3 immediate things that start next week as the event planner. So we wanted to give her just a little bit of time to get the Welcome Center started. So we've made that start. So thank you.
Okay.
We will.
Any other questions?
No, just, I can't remember which end you mentioned the art trick, but that's put on by the Merchants Association. It's the ladies and the people that almost,
The bull by the horns are kind of
I
guy.
think advertising, they're lacking good advertising.
That could be something like Rusty, you were saying is, can we utilize a few bucks for advertisement, whatever, just to kind of make this thing more and more attractive.
And that's one of the complaints I get talking with Bricks and whatnot is they thought that, I don't know, they just assumed, I guess would be a better word, that the city would just jump in and help. But I don't think they ever approached and asked, I don't know. And so like I said, I'm just baffled.
I mean, anytime something like this starts up, there's always growing pains. And I think it's gotta go through a couple of years before it kind of picks speed, because like Terry, you were saying that, who was it that you approached?
Really?
And how long did it take them to get underway?
They're in their 7th year, and their entertainment district is open 3 nights a week, and it's in a set 4 to 5 block radius.
Did they say how long it took before it started to gain?
We didn't ask that detailed questions. We were telling them our struggles more and trying to get feedback from them. They have a more concentration of restaurants in their 4 to 5 block area, but 70% of their restaurants declined to participate the first couple of years until they saw it become successful. Now they have 100%
Right,
participation.
but it was 2 years for them, about 2 years before they saw things really got going.
As I say, it takes the time to build that up. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go and close the work session and take a break. Got about 20 minutes.
No.
Speak into
Because I want to.
grab it like you